Welcome back to the Rockhound Podcast. This week, Karen again left me in charge, and so we're not going to do shouts this week, just so you guys all know. But where in the world is Cam? He's here in the
He is right
podcast.
here.
So, welcome everyone. Welcome, Cam. If you would do the honors of kicking off the introductions. So, who are you? What's your channel? And yeah, we'll start with that.
Awesome. So my name is Cam Muskelly. I'm a self-taught paleontologist, and I'm an educator in the field of paleontology and geology. And my channel is called Paleo 101.
Well, thank you for that, and welcome to the podcast. This
Thank
this
you.
is your first time being on, and we're happy to have you.
Rock on.
Steal my phrase. Kidding. It's fair use. So, who are you, Kurt?
My name's Kurt with Rock.Hounding.Adventures out in western Colorado.
And I am Kyle with World of Rockhounds here in Oregon. So we have different time frames here in the podcast. So I think it's been a little while since we did that. Yeah, so welcome in again. Karen's not in, so she is going to do the shouts when she comes back next week. So we'll have a plethora of shouts for everyone all the way around. So we're gonna go ahead and go into words of wisdom. Oh no! Oh my gosh! Nope. I am like jumping the gun way too far.
You're like, way.
So much for not having any mess ups.
We're not doing the beard thing anymore, so you can get off that subject.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna get into how everyone's weeks was. So let's do that. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off with Cam. How was your week?
My week has been pretty busy, but also pretty good. The weather has been a little bit, hot and warm at the same time, but it's been pretty good. I've been very busy.
Nice. Any projects in the works at all?
Kind of just, getting my collection together, and I'm working on some traveling arrangements that we will get to in a later date.
Nice. Sweet. Well, thank you for sharing that at least. And then, Kurt, how was your weeks?
My week has been the opposite of Cam. It's been very cold. I wish it was warm. I wish it was hot, but it's been very cold. We just got like another winter storm blow through and gave it another 4 or 5 inches when things were just finally to thaw and melt. And I was getting happy, thinking spring is on its way, but it's all covered back in snow. And so I have to delay cutting a little bit longer. And so I've still been doing some wire wrapping and looking for stuff that's already been cabbed and cut, because I don't want to go outside to do that because my hands freeze whenever you're doing that in those cold temperatures. And yeah, so that's pretty much how this week has been. So
well, sorry you don't have the warmest of weathers. Makes it hard to be productive.
It does.
Well, thank you for sharing your week. It's my week now that I'm in front of the camera again. I would say my week probably could be better. I know I try not to really put things on any kind of negative note, but how do I put this? I recently now have acquired more time to do rock stuff.
Nice.
Which means I now have time to grow my beard back.
Nice.
That's about as much of a positive spin that I could put on that. So, and that was pretty much effective today. So I've been busy trying to get some stuff put together, and then I'm going to be working on getting an LLC for the rock stuff, and then looking to see how much health insurance would cost through doing that. And then hopefully I can do the rock thing successfully full time and not have to resort into working for any kind of corporation, because rocks are cooler. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my week in a nutshell, and I can only keep, what was it, the Monty Python Life of Brian, always look on the bright side of life, and just the little diddly of the whistle. I'm not doing it because I don't get monetized or demonetized, or no, wait, we're not even monetized. Yeah, I just don't. No, yeah, we don't want a copyright strike. That's what we don't want. But yeah, so that was, I guess, how everyone's week was, and we can get into questioning. Dun dun dun. So,
Thanks for sharing, Kyle.
what was that?
I said, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
You're always thanking us.
Yeah, I always appreciate you guys from behind the camera. And so it was funny. The last week when you guys were on the podcast, like I was multitasking. I was actually doing a bunch of stuff. Like, what was it last week? I think it was last week. Either way, like I had stuff going on actually behind the camera, and I was like talking at you guys, but like it was everything was muted and the camera wasn't on. But like I was like in on the conversation still, but I was like, you guys just couldn't hear it or see me.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into questioning. Kurt, we'll go ahead and have you go first.
Sure. Let's see. This is a question we always ask. I'll take it from. I'll take Karen's question since she always asks it first. How in the world did you get into paleontology and geology, and the history on it?
Do you want the long story or the short story?
Troy's fine.
Yeah.
Well, it all started with my fascination with dinosaurs. I was a dinosaur kid growing up, Land Before Time. I was around 4 when Jurassic Park 3 came out, and I got to see that in the theaters, and that became kind of like my fire starter for all things dinosaurs. I read a whole bunch of books, and I was known in school and everywhere around where I would go as the dinosaur kid. And dinosaurs were my big fascination. And so that was kind of like my gateway into paleontology. And I started to learn a little bit more about the history of life and the earth and all those kinds of various different things. A teacher actually had a personal fossil collection in her classroom. And if I was on my best behavior, I would be able to go into her classroom, and she had a fossil collection, and she pulled out drawers. She had things like crinoids and brachiopods, corals. But one of the things that really caught my eye was the trilobite. And they were just these alien-like creatures. There were things that I've never seen before. And I actually reconnected with that teacher maybe about 2 years ago, and she actually gave me the trilobite that started my interest in paleontology.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Really nice of her.
So that was the trilobite that I saw when I was about 7 years old, and it just captured my imagination. And from there on out, I started to get an interest in paleontology and started to connect my interest with fossils to geology, and it all made sense. So I told my mother and my father that, I want to be a paleontologist. That's what I want to do.
Nice.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember having a teacher not really kind of like that, but I've had teachers in middle school that had like crystals and stuff in their classrooms, and they kind of told me, it's like, hey, you get good grades and whatever, then you can have these crystals and stuff. And then I got them. I don't know where they're at now. Like they're gone.
You are lucky. I didn't have that. I had glass crystals. I could get.
Well,
sorry.
I was gonna say, any more to add onto that at all?
Well, I began reading a whole bunch of books and things like that about, dinosaurs and geology. And I started really to educate myself in the field ever since I was like 3 years old. And the thing that really got me interested in geology was there was a rock sitting on the playground. And, kids like us would like to throw things on the ground and break them open to see what's inside. Well, yeah. I broke open a piece of rock, and it opened up on the playground. I think it was the surface was concrete, and it broke open, and it was shimmering crystals like mica, feldspar, quartz. And I realized that this is really interesting, and I've never seen this before. And I started to learn more about it. There was another instance where I thought I found a meteorite. Didn't turn out to be a meteorite. It turned out to be just a piece of concrete sitting next to my in the backyard, but it had a small crystal that was inside of it, and I didn't realize what it was. So I took the small crystal out of the concrete, and I took it to one of my daycare counselors, And she said, "Oh, this mineral is called quartz." And I wanted to realize, what is quartz? I realized it was a mineral that came in all different shapes and colors. It can come in blue, purple, colorless. And I realized that, wow, rocks are super cool. And so I connected my interest with geology and fossils, and I realized that those two coexist together to form the field of paleontology.
Nice. That's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that is.
Big question is, do you still have it, or did it get lost
I
over time?
don't. Yeah, that got lost over time. It was a small crystal. It was kind of like a pebble lodged in the concrete, but I still remember that interest. I still remember that fascination with like learning a whole bunch of things and going into libraries and reading as much books as I can. And I actually have a stack of books right here, and that's not even my full library. I have tons and tons of books. So I was definitely a reader and still am.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Well, that always helps. How long does it take for you to get through a book?
It depends on what I have going on. So I'm currently reading a couple of books right now on geology and the geology of Canada, and I'm just starting that. So it takes me maybe about a month or so, depending on what I have going on. I have a couple of books that I really need to get to.
Wow. I wish I could read like
Great.
that. I have the hardest time reading. If it has a lot of pictures in it, I can read it. But if it's just like straight paragraphs, it's so hard for me to read. But
Yeah. No, yeah, I've been reading like geology textbooks at like age like 13.
that's amazing, man. That's awesome.
I give you a lot of credit.
Yeah, same.
I I can't remember the last time I actually read a full book. I think I might have been high school, and I still. So the thing is, like, I still remember like I remember the imagery that I got from the books still to this day, like pretty well, but I don't remember the name of the book. If that makes like, any lick of sense, it's like I remember like what the book is about and like all the imagery and the storyline, but the name of the book, no, it's gone out the window.
So, like the last book I read was probably about in 2018, and I'll admit that it was Harry Potter, the illustrated version. The test got it for me, but yeah, that was the last book I read. But yeah,
Actually, I take it back. Technically, I did read books for pest management, but I don't know if I really consider that really actual good reading because it's just for training. So I don't really want to count that because I don't remember half the stuff that was in there.
we're starting to go off topic.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's still really cool that you're able to read and continue to learn because that's part of it is the ability to learn and keep wanting to learn.
Especially to stick through it all the years. Like I know my interests have changed dozens of times from when I was younger. I've always been interested in rocks and crystals, but my interests have like there was a time where I was more into like finding native artifacts to going into not looking for rocks at all, and then going back into it a couple years ago. But I'm just saying that I guess it's really cool that you're able to stick through it and then bring both pieces, paleontology and geology, together as one. So
yeah, I think ever since I've gotten older, my interest and my passions has gotten just a lot bigger.
nice. That's really good.
Do you have any plans to go into college to get a PhD?
Probably not, maybe not a PhD, but I would probably stop at like maybe a master's. So I'm working towards getting into college to get a bachelor's degree in geology.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I wish you all luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same.
And from what I've heard, and everyone's different too. Like some people excel in one subject or another, but I've got a friend that he had a pretty hard time in the math part of things.
Yeah,
And,
I'm not a math whiz.
Neither am I. So like growing up, like I wanted to be a paleontologist, an archaeologist, and geologist. And the moment that I found out that it requires like pretty extensive math, I'm like,
nope, not for me.
I'll just be a rock hound. Like I can still pick up cool rocks. Like
yeah.
But yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and ask a question that normally I would ask a long time ago, but Kurt's been asking in my absence or absence, my visual absence. I'm still in the backgrounds. So is there like a famous person that you think it probably has like an anonymous YouTube channel that probably would watch your channel? Who do you think it is? Just or see, I already forgot my question. My own question. If there was a famous person that you think is like secretly like into rocks and minerals, who do you think would be watching your channel?
I don't
It's a tough question.
Maybe Taylor Swift. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. She seems country, country pop music, a little bit of rock sometimes. That or maybe Miley Cyrus.
I don't think we've gotten those answers
Or
before.
wait, or even better, Dwayne Rock Johnson.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Because he actually posted on Twitter of what his favorite earth sciences are, and one of them was paleontology.
Oh,
that's cool.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah, he has an interest in earth sciences, so probably The Rock.
Maybe if he ever quits acting, like he'll go into paleontology.
Yeah, he's a big dinosaur guy. He really likes dinosaurs.
I'd be curious to know if maybe he has like a dedicated room at one of his probably many places just dedicated to fossils and artifacts. Because if you, I was gonna say if he has that much money, I'm sure he probably does.
He actually has a cast skull of Stan the T-Rex.
That's cool.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research in Hill City, South Dakota, made that cast for him, and he has that cast with life-size T-Rex skull in his house.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
So the interest is there.
So a few more movies, he can probably get the rest of the skeleton.
I wouldn't pass it by me.
Kurt, your turn. What do you got?
The next question is for anyone that's wanting to get into geology or paleontology, what would you say to help kind of inspire or give them advice?
That's a really good question. Paleontology is basically the combination of various different fields of sciences. But the main subjects in paleontology would be biology and geology. So you want to have a little bit of a good understanding of both geology and biology. So paleontology is basically the study of ancient biology recorded within the rock record. So you have to be able to understand a little bit or more about the geological aspect and about the biological aspect within that particular field. Basically just read all kinds of material that you see out there. If you see any intro to geology books out there, I would probably pick them up. Don't be scared to push them off. Having an interest in that is really, really cool. And it's really rare to have an interest in just rocks and fossils and things like that. Many people think that rocks are just these old, boring things on the earth, but they actually aren't. Rocks tell an amazing story about the history of the planet. And the animals recorded in those rocks can tell us a lot about what was living, what was going on throughout the history of the earth and how life may have gotten started. So I would basically say, have a curiosity. If you pick up a rock, maybe try to identify it based upon some books like fossil ID books or rock ID books. And that will give you a better understanding of what you're looking at and how to look for these types of objects.
Nice.
It's a really good answer. And I like that you bring up books rather than use the web, because Jared currently Rockhounding we recently had on, there's so much information that is lost and hidden in books where you can't really find online.
Right. I mean, books do go out of date, so online sources are good too. But I'm kind of an old-fashioned person. Yeah, I've got rock identification books, and I go by those a lot of the time.
It's also nice to have a physical copy too. That way, if you're out in the field and you don't have like any cell service at all, you can do a bit of light reading. It's the old-fashioned way.
Right.
Yeah. It's no different from reading on a phone. The only thing is different is the paper.
Right.
Paper.
What are we doing? What is this? It's paper. learn to read on paper.
That sounds like you're talking to my generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick tangent. So I know like people are like, oh, you need to stop looking at your cell phones. Like look up once in a while. Back in the day, before cell phones and computers, people were reading newspapers.
Yeah.
Only difference is you're looking at a square this big rather than a square this big.
Right.
Yeah, but still, it's good to have books too. I have books, and I use them for identification stuff too because one, I think a couple of the books are actually color coordinated, so that helps me a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that. I have a bunch of mineral and geology books that I bought to read, but I've only gotten like a couple pages into them, and plan on finishing them soon. But yeah.
Well, I guess I can ask another question here. So, if money were not an issue at all, where would you go in the world to rockhound, collect fossils, whatever it might be? Where would you be your destination of choice, and what would you be looking for?
Oh man, now that's a hard one. There's so many.
On the Moe scale, how hard is it? Okay, that was my only dad joke. I promise. I kind of promise.
I'm gonna have to go with 10. I'm gonna have to go with 10. Gosh, I would probably go to Scotland. Um, Scotland has some of the oldest rocks in that general area. I mean, the rocks are about 1 billion years old, and so I really like old rocks. Things are over 1 billion years old, and I would likely go there to look for some really cool rocks and really old fossils. Another place would be Australia. Australia has an incredible rich diversity of fossils and mineral deposits. Everybody knows the Australian opal. So, I mean, it's very, very famous. So, that I would likely go to. But I mean, there's so many various different places I would love to go to one day and look for stuff.
And I believe that the opal fields in Australia have also produced opal fossils. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually have one in one of my collections, an opalized clam.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
I've seen those before in persons. I don't think they came from Australia. I think they came from somewhere else. But they're the opalized clams, and they're precious opal. They weren't just like your normal like white opal. They are actually like precious opal clams.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't afford to buy one, otherwise I would have, because like they were just the coolest thing. Just like have all that color play in there. I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, I got one that mine I got was a gift to me from a geologist.
Nice.
And those actually come out of the, I think, early Cretaceous Bulldog Shale, and so you actually can find opalized, not just opalized shells, but belemnites fully opalized, and also dinosaurs and plesiosaurs and all those kinds of marine reptiles fully opalized as well.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
That'd be worth a hip and holler.
Oh yeah.
Upon finding.
I would love to hold a kind of opalized dinosaur vertebra one day. That would be so cool.
That would be amazing to do.
I agree. I'm gonna put that on my wish list. Amy, if you're watching, I want that for I want that for my collection. So Kurt, passing the questions back to you.
Yeah, so this question kind of goes into his last question, but in reverse. Out of all the places that you've been, what is the coolest specimen that you found?
Okay, that's a cool one. That's a hard one too. That's probably a 9 on the Mozartian scale. I found a lot of really cool stuff over the years. I've been to various different places and collected fossils and minerals, things like around I've been in the Missouri area. I've been in Illinois collecting trilobite fossils, Alabama, places I want to say in Florida. So I think the coolest fossil that I found was probably last year. I was hunting Carboniferous fossils in Alabama. So I was actually hunting the Bangor limestone. This is over about 323 million years old in North Alabama near Huntsville. And we were on a reservoir looking for stuff. And we find the common stuff, horn corals, brachiopods, bits and pieces of trilobites. But the coolest fossil that I actually found there was a disarticulated starfish.
Ooh,
That's cool.
that would be amazing to find.
Yeah, that was a really cool find. And I've always really wanted to find a starfish. I've seen plenty of different other collections that had starfish coming from that exact location. And I flipped over a rock and I looked at it and I saw just these plates in the shape of a star. And I'm like, hang on, that looks kind of like a starfish, but I wasn't too sure. So I
Yeah.
actually sent the photos to a couple of paleontologists who studies echinoderms from a college in Tennessee, and they did confirm that it was a starfish. It was disarticulated, but a lot of it was still there.
Wow.
It's still really cool.
That is really cool.
So that probably has to be one of my best finds. I found other things, but that starfish was definitely the one that rocked my world that day.
I can imagine.
Go little rock stars. So sorry, Kurt. I'm gonna steal one of your questions now. Can you guess which one I'm gonna steal?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever found while rock hounding?
The weirdest I've ever found.
And it could be anything. It could be rock related or not
Okay.
rock related. It can be anything.
Huh. I don't really know. I mean, I've seen some really weird fossils before, things that I don't even know what they are. And even geologists don't even know what they are. Some with like weird shapes. I think a good one of my friends, Dustin finds rocks, says he always finds a sock everywhere he goes when he's collecting. And I've seen that trend too.
Is it just one sock?
Yeah, it's just like one sock.
I've seen that.
Boy, that's odd.
So I've seen that trend before in a lot of different locations that I've gone to collect. Either if it's a sock or even a pair of underwear. I've seen a pair of underwear out there. It's kind of weird.
Man, that doesn't just add up. You got people running around without underwear on and only one sock.
Yeah.
Maybe they're using their underwear to put rocks in. I don't know.
There you go.
I mean, whatever floats their boat. As long as they're not using their underwear for the streak test.
Right. God.
Another dad joke.
Okay, no more jokes, I promise. Okay. Technically, there was another pun that I did, and I don't know if anyone actually caught it. It was with one sock because I'm like, oh, that's odd.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Okay, I promise. I met my quota. Maybe we'll see. Kurt.
Let's see. That's the next question I was gonna ask. I think.
You always do animals.
Huh?
You always do the
What?
animal one.
Yeah. If they're in it. Yeah. What is it like? Have you had any strange or interesting animal encounters while out hunting?
While out hunting, I've came across a couple of really cool snakes. Um, I think one was can't remember. I think it was a garden snake that I flipped over a rock and I saw a garden snake. Another one would probably be, I want to say a spider, and I have arachnophobia, guys. So when I see a spider, I freak out completely. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is, I freak out. So I was hunting rocks out in the Alabama heat with no shade, looking for crinoid stems. And I flipped over a rock with my hand, and I made the mistake of doing that rather than flipping over the rock with your rock hammer. I did it with my hand, and I saw a huge spider underneath the rock, and I just freaked out. I mean, I didn't scream, but I jumped way back. Like I had to get into the car and kind of like decompress. It's okay. It's just a spider. You'll be fine. Keep collecting rocks. Go back out there. Stop being a wuss.
I think we've all had moments like that.
But I've came across like, weird spiders, some really pretty ones, but I'm not going to get close enough to, take a photo of it. I came across deer, and I think I may have seen a bobcat, but I'm not exactly sure. It may have been a bobcat.
Rare to see.
So I've seen a whole kinds of, cool and crazy animals. One thing I would love to see is a moose.
Moose. That yeah. I've always wanted to see a moose. And then like I want to say early last winter, we were coming down the mountain out here in Colorado, and and like my girlfriend, she was like, "It'd be so cool if we see a moose, but not one that is running across the road, but like off on the side of the road." And then as soon as she got done saying that, I pulled off, and there's this big moose butt right there, and we pulled off, and there was 3 or 4 females, and then a large male moose with just sitting there staring at us. And and my girlfriend's like, can you just go a little bit closer? I was like, no, I think he's gonna charge us. I don't want him to wreck our car. But I mean, he had a massive wreck, and it was one of the coolest things that I've seen in the last couple of years.
Wow, yeah, because I know they get huge.
Yeah, and they're very territorial, from what I've been told.
And from what I've heard too is they don't care. Like they're not scared of nothing. Just like,
yeah.
I mean, when you're that big, like, what do you care? Like,
yeah.
So, I remember hunting in Missouri. I did come across a scorpion, and they're actually quite rare to find. I was hunting trilobites in Missouri, and I saw, just wandering around, was a scorpion. I'm like, what's a scorpion doing out here? It was super cool, but they're also pretty rare to find in Missouri.
It's interesting. Yeah. Did you get a picture of it?
I didn't. My friend did. I was too focused on the rocks. I was distracted.
Fair enough.
One of the worst things with scorpions, I like growing up in Texas, we have scorpions there everywhere. And when you're digging, I always forgot I need to dig with like a pick or a shovel, not my hands. And I was digging underneath this rock, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pour some water on the other side and see if it will like kind of wash out underneath where I was digging. And like 4 or 5 scorpions float out. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's the little ones you want to look out for too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I think my next question might even lead into kind of show and tell too, but just how big is your personal collection?
It's a lot. In fact, the closet behind me here, I'll open that up, is where I keep the curated collection. So, so this is just part of it. This is not even the entire collection. So I'll tilt my screen right here. I still have stuff, and all this stuff is all curated. So I write it down, labels with every single specimen, with coordinates,
really good.
locations, the species, everything. So if a specimen is scientifically important, I make sure that it is properly cataloged. It doesn't matter what the specimen is. It can be, small, big. I do the best I can to try to catalog each specimen. It's like religiously, it's like second nature. I've got, rocks around me here. I've got rocks underneath the bed. Underneath where I'm sitting right now is another part of the collection. I've got another part where I have a drawer of fossils, and on top of that drawer is another part of the collection. So, yeah, I've got a lot of rocks.
The coolest thing is that you actually are documenting where they're all coming from and what they are. So I know that if Jared happens to be watching this podcast, he's going to be just because like he's made note that it's important to be able to document that way. If it ever changes hands, like there's information there, and like there's actually value to it, rather than just this is a rock that from somewhere I found 10 years ago. I don't even remember where it came from anymore. Like,
right,
there's a lot of value, and not just in monetary means, but just like informational value there.
Right. So, I mean, I've gotten like a lot of praise for doing so. I had a curator of paleontology here in Montana. She came and visited me. And she's like, you catalog this so well. It's better than even our entire museum.
You want a job?
No, I need a job. That would have been cool. But she was like praising me for how good I'm doing this and how I'm keeping records. I just don't make cataloging for the specimens, but I catalog the entire drawers, and I separate it through various different either time periods or a phylum or a genus or anything like that. I separate the collections throughout, biological or geological.
That's really cool.
That is.
Get this guy a job. He won't be sorry. But that was my last. I think that might have been my last question. Unless Kurt, you have any more?
I had a question, but you kind of answered the question. My question was like, whenever you are going through your collection, do you see a rock and know exactly where it's from without having to look up? But with you, like, writing everything down, you already have the info.
A lot of the times, heck, I can put a rock in my pocket and be able to pull it out to someone and tell you exactly where it is. And that's just because I've done it so much. And I'm also part of the autism spectrum, so these kinds of various different things are like second nature to me. So I can tell you exactly where it's from because of my in-depth interest and passion for it. So it really just depends on exactly where it's from and how good the specimen is. Because if it's scratched up, it may be hard to identify and show a person tell exactly what it is. But if it's a good specimen and it's not beaten up, and if it's not too weathered away, I can kind of give you a general location and a general age.
Nice. That's really awesome. I wish I had that kind of memory.
It's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse.
I think it's a gift because that's pretty impressive.
That really is. Oh crap! Sorry.
That's okay. We're still within the FCC guidelines.
He lost his marbles.
Yeah, I dropped it. My show and tell, she set it down so I don't break it.
Yeah, I've been having like to kind of keep my hands over here because I've been like playing with my show and tell too a little bit.
But yeah, are y'all cool if we just move into show and tell?
Yes. So Cam, you're gonna go first with your show and tell, and then what I'll do is I'll spotlight your camera so that you can put it up, and then if it's something that we have a picture of, then I can also add a picture in a little bit later too.
Okay, perfect.
All right, you're good to go.
All right, so I have a couple of things for show and tell. I have so many various different things. You saw my closet, so I can't pull everything out of my closet and show you exactly what I have. But I did bring out a couple of specimens to show folks. So one of the cool things that we have in Georgia, I actually start with minerals. So one of the cool things that we have is amethyst. So Georgia is very well known for its amethyst type crystals. In fact, it's world famous for its amethyst. And I didn't find this specimen, but I did buy it from a mineral show, a local mineral show. This is Georgia amethyst.
Ooh,
so pretty.
That's beautiful.
So we call this grape jelly amethyst.
I can understand why.
So, and this is just kind of the crystal faces on here are a little bit beaten up, but it's still a really pretty specimen for a person who's starting out collecting minerals, and specifically from Georgia.
That's a very pretty specimen.
So I've got that one, and then I've got a really cool garnet crystal. And so a lot of people look at garnets, and garnets are silicate minerals. They are rock-forming minerals, and so they can typically form in igneous and metamorphic rocks. And garnets actually are what we call an index mineral. So they can tell us about the pressure and the temperature of a given geological environment if you find one of these minerals. And I've got one that's pretty big. This one is also from Georgia. It's a little bit of iron stained, but I've got a really big garnet crystal right here.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
This is a single crystal of almandine garnet. It's a little bit beaten up, but it's still a pretty cool specimen. You can still see it's got its crystal faces on here. But this is a really cool piece. I've gotten that. And then the state mineral of Georgia is called the fairy stones or starlight. And those are minerals that are typically can form in metamorphic rocks, typically in schists. And I've got this one. I think you can see a little bit of the twin crystal here.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are really interesting. I really like these things. I've never collected any of these before. I've gotten this from a previous collection, but you can find these different types of minerals and schists around the North Georgia area where those rocks are outcropping at. And then there's a place in Georgia called the Hog Mine, and you can find all kinds of really interesting crystals and minerals that used to be a big pegmatite. So pegmatite is basically kind of a granite, but its crystals are a lot bigger because they were the magma was actually cooling a lot slower, and the slower the magma, the bigger the crystals will be. And so I actually have a piece of rose quartz. You may not be able to see the pink color; it may just look white on the screen here.
I see a little like hue of it.
See a little pink.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a pink quartz or rose quartz. It's got some titanium in it that makes the pink color, and that comes from the hog mine. And you can actually find big beryl crystals from that location and tons of mica. So that's the lighting is kind of shutting it off, but
it looks like you're holding like a glowing rock.
there you go.
There we
You
go.
can see it a little bit better. There we go.
Yeah.
So that's rose quartz, one of my favorite minerals. So,
Rose quartz does take an amazing polish too.
oh yeah, yeah. I've seen rose quartz, the ones that are from Georgia. I've seen them polished really nicely, and they're absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I've seen some of them made into jewelry,
Nice.
cut and polished
Right.
ones. Those are gorgeous. So I'm a big mineral collector too. I don't just collect fossils. Even though I'm a little bit biased, but I have a pretty decent mineral collection too. So those particular examples do come from Georgia. But I do have some other examples. This one doesn't come from Georgia, but I really like folded rocks. I like things that have deformation in them. So it tells you a lot about the geological environment. And this is a folded piece of mica schist. You can actually see a little bit of folding in there. It's been squeezed and it's been baked into this beautiful shimmery mica schist with folding in it.
Cool.
So I got
That's so
that
mesmerizing. I forgot to write down the time.
So I think that one comes from North Carolina. So we're done with the rocks and minerals, and now we move on to the. Actually, no, we're not done with rock. We're not done with minerals. I'm sorry. Got one more.
But wait, there's more.
Always more.
Always more. I got this one from my good friend Wild Kyle. When we were hunting rocks in Missouri, and he gave me this beautiful piece of Missouri quartz. So it's very shimmery. This one comes from the Potosi Formation, and it's late Cambrian, so it's around 497 million years old to the earliest Ordovician. And you can find all kinds of fossils in there, but you can also find these shimmery, cool pieces of quartz. I can't remember the location where he found this.
Was
I
it
think
maybe Haunted Ridge?
Yes, there we go, Haunted Ridge. Yeah,
good old Wild Kyle. My opposite. Yeah, my opposite. So that's Wild Kyle, and I'm Mild Kyle.
Mild Kyle.
Yeah, he's the one that gave me that nickname.
Yep.
So I've got that one. That one's really cool. So I've been to Missouri at least 2 times collecting fossils, and I'm actually supposed to be going again this year. I'm looking for more stuff, adding more to the collection. And one of the places that we got to go to was the Decorah Formation. And the Decorah Formation dates back to the Ordovician period, and that's roughly around 445 to 450 million years old. We found a variety of different types of fossils. I mean, it's the place that we went to was incredibly rich with fossils. Every rock that you picked up had fossils in. And this one was a son of a gun to bring back onto the plane. And actually, I had to put this on the plane with me because I really didn't want to leave this out in the field. So I put it into my bag. I had to go through the security to get it through. They were wondering what it was. They opened it up. I'm like, why do you have rocks here? Like, sorry, I'm kind of a geologist. That's what I do. And I carried this onto the plane. I couldn't put it up into the bin because it was too heavy. So I had to carry it. And then I had to carry it through the Atlanta airport. The strap broke when I was carrying it halfway. But it was worth it because this is a fantastic specimen. But this here is just filled with brachiopods.
That's cool.
That's
so
awesome.
You can see why I lugged it all the way onto the plane and out to the airport.
Yeah.
That's worth it.
I think I remember you sharing that story on Facebook.
Yeah, I did. I used a little bit more expletives, but yeah, I just shared it. But yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely filled with brachiopods. That location is just so rich. And we found big cephalopod pieces as well. And so that one was a really cool fossil that I brought back home with me to Missouri. In Mississippi, I've gone to Mississippi and looked for fossils as well. And one of the cool fossils that I actually got to find were big oysters, and I'm talking really big. Things are about maybe around orange size to softball size. Actually, some to our soccer size. So these oysters are called Exogyra, and this is from the Cretaceous of the Prairie Bluff Chalk, which is later Cretaceous, so around 68 to 67 million years. And this is a really big oyster, and it's complete.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So
that is massive.
It still has both of the valves. This is called the operculum. So this is the right valve, the one that I just opened up, and then the bigger part is the left valve. And so, yeah, that is a huge oyster shell. That's probably the biggest one that I have. So
that's awesome.
I love that fossil. And hopefully I'm not running out of time here.
We still got plenty of time.
Okay, perfect.
I think, Theo and Karen are definitely messing out. I mean, if they were on here, we'd probably be on a lot longer.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. So I actually collected that. I was a paleontology intern at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. I want to say back in 2021, and we were collecting fossils and all kinds of stuff like that. And so that was one of the things that I collected on my internship. Another thing that I collected was a really awesome sand dollar called Clepiaster. And the cool thing about this fossil is that it was actually sitting on like a kind of like a hoodoo or a pedestal, just waiting to be picked up. And so the curator of paleontology, George Phillips, called me over and wanted me to take a look at it. And we were all just circled around looking at this beautiful sea urchin on this pedestal. And that was the sea urchin. It's really, really pretty. So I cleaned it up.
Yeah, it is.
It looks really nice. You can still see the petals on there. You can still see the mouth underneath. So I've got that one. And then we went to another location to collect sand dollars. This one is from the Winona Formation, which is Eocene in age. The Clepiaster is Oligocene. And that is one that I collected.
Nice.
That's awesome, man.
So it took us a lot of time to pull out complete specimens. This is probably the most complete one that I found. And it's still a little bit broken, but it's still solidified in the rock. That's why it was complete. Incomplete specimens are typically going to be found in the stuff that's wetted away, that's in the mud. But that one was a really cool one that I found. And I love that piece. Let's see here. I think I got a couple more things left to show you guys. This is really cool. So this might not look like much at all. When I show it, you're going to be like, why are you showing us this? But it tells an incredible story about the history of the planet. So along on my internship, we actually got to visit the KPG boundary, and that is the Cretaceous Paleogene. So that is right at the end of the extinction event, the meteorite that killed off dinosaurs 66 million years ago. And one of the things that we actually found were small glass beads. These glass beads basically came from rained from the Gulf of Mexico and settled all the way into Mississippi, and we call these spherules. And so this is going to be really hard to see, but I have a photo. There are small beads in here. This photo would enlighten the picture. And so what you're looking at is this. So all of those small circles or all those small beads there are actually ejecta that was rained down from the asteroid impact 66 million years ago.
Wow.
That's cool.
So it's not necessarily what it used to be glass. It's now decayed into a mineral called smectite. So it's decaying. It has decayed into a clay-like mineral, but it's now what it used to be was glass, that was injected from the asteroid impact from the Gulf of Mexico and being rained down in the rocks in the seas of Mississippi.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We all just learned something new today.
Yeah. So I've got two more things to show you. Two more things. Okay. So, I was collecting fossils in, I want to say, Grafton, Illinois, with my friend Hunting Rocks and Dustin Finds Rocks and my good friend Asa Kaplan. And we were looking for calamine trilobites and the Joliet Dolomite. and we were looking for stuff all day, and we found some pretty interesting specimens. We found a lot of them. I think Kyle came back with the best specimen because Kyle, he always finds that kind of stuff. But I actually did find a complete one, and so this is a complete trilobite.
Ooh,
No, so cute.
So it's
that's beautiful detail.
Yeah, I mean, I took it home. It was in the Matrix, and I kind of took it home and kind of wept and kind of like worked on it a little bit. And these fossils don't really need too much preparation. I mean, that's exactly how it looked when I cracked it out of the rock. So, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then my last fossil I will show is this. Actually, no, the other one's going to be my last one, but I have this trilobite fossil that I found from Georgia.
Nice.
So this is called Aspalaspis brachyphasis, and this comes from the Conasauga Formation. I'm in northwest Georgia, so this is late Cambrian. So this is over 497 million years old. And I've collected, these are kind of my starter fossils. I collected these when I was a high school student. And I've been collecting a lot of these different types of fossils, like the ones like this trilobite ever since, and basically bloomed my interest in more, became more passionate about paleontology from that experience. And then the last fossil I will show is this really cool brachiopod that I found last year. We were in a formation called the Red Mountain Formation, which is Silurian in age, lower Silurian. And you can find that particular formation in Alabama, but there's a unit in Georgia that is outcropping there. And you can find all kinds of really cool stuff, including brachiopods, horn corals, bits and pieces of trilobites. Well, I thought this brachiopod was just so neat.
Wow.
That's cool.
And it's a brachiopod species I haven't identified yet. So
I have a lot of brachiopods that look just like that I found out in Kentucky a few years ago.
yeah.
I'll have to see if I can find it and send you some pictures of them.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I've got I think the ones that you were looking at are likely Ordovician in age.
Yeah, they're Ordovician.
Yeah, so they're even older than the ones that I have that I was just showing you guys. My next trip that I'm planning on is actually going up to Nova Scotia, Canada.
Ooh,
nice.
So I was invited. Yeah,
you're talking about books earlier.
Yeah, I was actually invited with a couple of geologists and paleontologists to find a trip for me to go up to Nova Scotia to do some research and some field work and also some things to do on my channel. And I accepted the invite, and I'm working on getting that funding and working on getting my passport to go up there for about a week and look at some really cool fossils and cool rocks.
That's really exciting.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. When you're there, you should. Do you know Jason with Rockhounding Life?
I don't think I do.
He's up there in Nova Scotia. He finds a lot of cool fossils and agates and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to connect with him. I would really like to find really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to go to the area too and rock hound with Jason, but affording that kind of trip is not easy.
Yeah.
But
that's why I'm getting funding for it.
Nice. Well, thank you for all your awesome show and tells, and for any of them that we have a picture of, I'll put them up where they need to go, and yeah, a lot of cool stuff. And that was just not even the tip of the iceberg.
Not even the full closet full.
Well, Kurt, what do you got for tonight's show and tell?
So I have a couple of fossils that picked out that I've showed before, but I'm going to show them again since we have Cam on. This piece is a piece of coral mixed with some like gastropods here and here that are from the Ordovician period out of the Ohio River. I believe this broke off from, can't remember the formation, but if you ever go up into northern Kentucky, there's a state park called the Falls of the Ohio, And whenever in the fall, when the water's down, you can go out in the riverbed and you can just see hundreds of beautiful encased fossils in limestone, up to like basketball size, of like gastropods, brachiopods, other types of coral. And I think this broke off from a flood and traveled downriver from where I picked it up, because by a river it's about a mile from the falls. But this is one of my favorite fossil pieces, just because it's about 2 inches thick and just full of coral. I don't know the actual name of the coral, but if you want, I can send you some pictures. But it's really beautiful.
It kind of looks like Grewinkia. The coral that you have there, it looks like a Grewinkia on coral.
Yeah. And the backside, that's pretty cool.
That's good.
Specimen. And then the next piece, this is a piece of limestone with little bits and pieces of crinoid and brachiopods in, but there's a nice arm of a crinoid stem going, probably about 5 inches long. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but it's probably my largest crinoid piece that I've found, just north of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Super cool piece. And that, I think, is from the Mississippian period, that I was from that formation. And these are not the brachiopod plates I was wanting to show you, but this one, hold on, see if I can get it to show up a little bit better. This is a beautiful one that I picked up. I'm not sure if it's camera's picking it up. Are y'all able to see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, yeah. It's a nice little brachiopod right there. And this is from the Pennsylvania period, in southern Kentucky. Super cool piece. I was kind of surprised to find it. And then right next to that one, in the same shell, there's this. Hold on, let me see if I can get this one to pop. This one has some beautiful detail on it. And I'll send Kyle the videos and pictures, but it's a nice preserved brachiopod.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, I'll send you pictures and videos of those, Kyle.
Okay.
And then these are, I don't know if these are fossils or if they're just like nodules. These are found in southern Kentucky near Morrow's Bone, in a creek bed that I was in. But there's two of them, pretty much identical in size or identical in shape, a little bit different sizes. This one is like mainly agate, but it's strange because there's an identical one out of Jasper. This is smaller in size, and it looks like it could be some type of coral, but I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of interesting though.
Have you tried polishing them?
I'm gonna cut right down the middle on them and see what they look like on the inside. But yeah, they're cool little pieces. And then in the same river creek bed, found some beautiful little pieces of blue agatized crinoids segments. Jeez, keep dropping them. I think these are from the quaternary period, so they're about the 2.588 or 2.885 million years old for quaternary. Do you know?
I think those are more Mississippian crinoids.
Mississippian crinoids?
Yeah.
Okay.
They probably just came from a riverbed that's quaternary.
Yeah. The riverbed is in a quaternary area, but upriver is Mississippian and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So you're probably right there. And then few miles away. There's I haven't posted this location publicly. I gave it to the Adventure Closet, so I'm pretty sure they checked it out when they were in the area. But I found some road cuts that I was just pulling off just to check road cuts, because road cuts are a great place to look for fossils, and especially in that area. And found it. I started finding geodes instead of fossils, and that's kind of in the area where I found these two little brachio pieces. But on the opposite side of the road cut, I was finding geodes, and this geode is a full clam brachiopod geotized.
Wow.
I've only found, like, you can see a little bit of the fossil shell structure right here on the face of it, and then how it kind of goes back up to where the two of them meet right here. And I found only probably about 3 or 4 of these brachiopods geotized. I sent one of them to Taylor Agate Dad, and he cut one open. I want to say about a year ago. It was pretty cool on the inside, encased with agate and quartz. But I plan on, when I get my 10-inch saw, I plan on cutting this one. Possibly, I'm not too sure if I want to cut it yet, but that's definitely a really cool piece. One of my favorites. But yeah, those are pretty much my show and tells.
Well, thank you, Kurt, for your show and tell.
Really neat.
Huh?
No, it's really neat.
Oh, thank you.
I say cut it open.
I'm leaning towards that, but because if I cut it, I have to cut it in a way where I'm not going to disturb any of the beautiful details of the shell structure, because I don't want to ruin that. But yeah, I don't know. I can maybe cut it in a way to where it doesn't damage that structure.
Very carefully. We all want to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your show and tells. All amazing, as per usual. So I guess that comes back down to me. I won't have near as many. I only got really technically one that I cut in 2. It's actually from this week's. It's actually from this week's video that I posted. So I bought. Oh, I guess I should probably put my thing on me. Hold on. Replace. There we go. Okay. I'm not cutting this out. You guys get 100% real stuff. Okay. So this week I cut a chalcedony nodule from Morocco, and I bought this a few years ago at a rock show, along with a bunch of other geodes, which will be videos for the next couple of weeks until I can get some other things made for the channel. But I cut open this nodule because it was interesting looking. It's like a glob. It's just a globby looking nodule. Yeah. It looks interesting. I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and buy it. I should have bought 2, and they weren't very expensive. But I cut it open, and this is one side.
Oh, wow.
So that's the one side. It's pretty cool on the inside. Yeah. It's got a... Yeah, the camera's not going to pick it up too well, but there's a little crystal on the inside. But it's got these cool little orbs in the agate itself, or the chalcedony, or it's quartz. It's all quartz. Except probably for that crystal that's actually there in the center. That actually might be calcite. I don't know 100% just yet, but it's got these orbs in there, which is really cool, right? On the other side, you know that Cookie Monster agate that's been it's been floating around on the oh gosh, sorry. It's been floating around on the internet. Yeah, this one I think will give Cookie Monster the run for his money. You got a little eye right here, and then you have another eye here on this other side, just a wonky mouth.
Cool.
But yeah, I think actually I'm gonna polish this up, and it'll take a polish. I know it will. I mean,
if you polish it, will it ruin the face?
That's why I'm kind of like, if I do, I have to be very careful, because I think the bigger eye, it looks pretty shallow. So I think if I do polish it, it might lose some size to it, but I think I'll still have 2 eyes. And that's kind of like the important thing I want to have, is to remove or to have both eyes. So I can be like, hey, Cookie Monster, I have your funky looking relative here.
So, it'll be like Pac-Man, right? Like the Cookie Monster running and the that
Waka,
one
waka,
coming across.
But yeah, I almost yeah. It turned out really cool. I'm glad I cut it because I almost did, and I almost decided to just leave the way it was. But I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do it because why not?
If you
So
polish it, video it so that way we can hear the aftermath if the eyes disappear.
yeah, I think I should be okay. Maybe because there is kind of a slight curve that kind of comes down a little bit. So if I do sand that, I do have to be very careful because I don't want to lose that eye. But I'm also not going to lacquer a stone because I'm just not going to do that. Just the thought
If the rock loses the eye, will it be blind-ites?
Oh my god. I mean, this other one has one eye.
You could send it to Karen. She could carve her around and polish it with her tools.
I could do the same thing. I think. So I still
the tools or not.
So I have actually all the tools down here in this bench, but I've got the same bits that she and also Theo have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're just the Nova points.
Yeah.
I forgot even how long ago I bought these. I made a video of me getting them in, and I still had not used them. I think it was like well before Christmas. It was a long time ago. But I bought them like, okay, I'm gonna use these. I can actually I got a few projects that I can actually do these on. I'm working on a couple of knife handles, so I can actually do like the divots of where the finger goes. I haven't had time. I kind of do now for a little while anyway. So I'll get to play around with those points before too long.
Yeah.
But that kind of does it for my show and tell. I didn't really have anything too crazy. Yeah. So I guess that's it. Because that's my show and tell.
I do have another show and tell I can show real quick that I think Cam would like to see. It'll take and it's from you. So
what did I send you? So the thing is, like, if I send someone something before they even get it, I've already forgotten like most of the contents of the box.
Well, you didn't just like willingly send it to me. I want it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
So like back when Kyle was like right when he hit 1,000 subscribers, he was doing a giveaway for this knife that he made, but he used dino bone. So like I don't know if this is gonna pick it up, but
very nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Like he did a beautiful job making the knife.
I see the cellular structure in it too.
Yeah, the cellular structure is agatized, so it's like a blue hue to it. It's really beautiful.
That must be from the Morrison formation.
I don't know. It's Kyle. Do you know where the dino bone came from? I know what the Morrison formation is.
But I believe I bought that in slab form already. So like there's it's hard to know exactly where stuff comes from. Like if you buy it from like a vendor.
But I bet you money it's from the Morrison.
You're probably right. I've never used this knife. It's more of a collection piece.
See, that's a hard thing. Like I have a blue African Petersite knife handle that I've done, and I can't bring myself to really carry it around with me because I don't want to ruin it. It was a very expensive slab. It was like $100 for that slab, and I meant to make 2 knives. And through that process, I messed up because the slab was pretty thick. I figured, okay, I can cut the slab, I can cut the blanks into exactly 2 pieces. I can just back it with another darker material and make 2 knives. Not a big deal, right? No, I messed up on that cut, and so I only ended up with one knife. And so that knife now sits very prettily on a display. And I do have another knife here too. I start off with these little cheap like Tac Force pocket knife. Oh, Yeah, this might help a little bit. There we go. I started off with doing like these.
Yeah.
Very reflective. I just did a simple little handle. And this is the only one that I have left. I must have made like 50 or 60 of these things.
Wow.
And this is the only one that I got. And it just sits here in the shop. I have it in my desk here for when I'm opening up a box or something. So it's, yeah.
Well, I cherish this one. So
I do want to make more though, because I do have more Dinobone slabs that I want to incorporate into some knife handles. So I do love that, like actized dinosaur bone.
Cam, did you see that Dino Bone play button that he made?
No, I didn't.
You should have used
Let me
that for your
grab
show. It's super cool. He made it for the Makers Challenge, the first one, I think.
So no, it was actually Agadad. He made a play button for his Makers Challenge, and I made this play button, but I didn't release it until like after I hit my 1,000 subscriber mark, because like I figured I'm never gonna earn a silver play button. It's just I'm not.
Don't say never.
It's unlikely that I'll get a silver plate button within a short amount of time. Okay, but still, like my thought process was, I want to make my own play button that's customized to what I do, because all those silver buttons are cool and all, but they're made in a warehouse. They are mass produced. They just and do a quick engraving and whatever channel name is on there. And I'm like, I'll make my own, but I'm gonna wait until I get to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll make this like really epic video on it. Figure it's gonna be like, it's gonna take off because like it's a freaking dinosaur bone play button. Like, who else has done it? Well, Taylor made a really cool giant play button for his Makers Challenge before I can release this one. I'm like, dang it. And then like another YouTuber made a play button for Mr. Beast. It was like a customized like Mr. Beast play button. It was massive and it was pretty cool. But his little brother made a play button from like marble and meteorite. And it was like a little play button. So it wasn't a huge one, but it was a little one. And I'm like, cool. These people are making play buttons before I can even show off mine.
Get it out.
But yeah, so eventually I was able to actually show my play button.
Oh, that is cool.
And so it's all actized dinosaur bone. It's got sterling silver surrounding the center of it, and the center of it's actually fire obsidian. It doesn't really show that well here on the camera, but a little flash there.
I can see a little bit.
But the bone actually polished really easily. Like, I was surprised, because polishing anything really about as big as this, it can be a little time consuming, because you're trying to get all the scratches out, and this bone actually polished super quick. I was actually pretty surprised. But yeah, this was a. I think it still stands today as the most expensive project that I've done on my channel. I mean, I recently actually bought some moldavite to actually kind of cab up a little bit, and that was expensive. But this still takes the expensive cake, because not only the material was expensive, took a long time to make, but I spent a lot of money on the production of that really cool video. Like, I went dry ice, I did fire, I did plants, it was like an all-out like plan to make sure everything was like as cool as possible.
You should check it out. It was pretty cool.
So I was rewatching the video, but the Gemstones channel, they did a video on fire obsidian, because I sent them a bunch of fire obsidian to cover. But I also sent them this to show off in that video too. So they showed off this. And I feel like the play button does not get as much love as I would have liked to have. I still love it with all my heart, but
I love it.
I like it. Oh, it's really cool.
But I do have more play buttons I'm gonna make. And I think the biggest thing is like finding materials to blend well that will, like, the colors colors and patterns will complement each other. And I've got a couple in mind that I think they're gonna be really, really cool. But I think that was it for show and tell, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Kinda
Well, now we
dragged
get the
on.
words of wisdom. We managed to go almost an hour and a half just by ourselves.
That's crazy.
So, Cam, what kind of words of wisdom do you got for us?
Well, got this. If you have a passion for something, whatever it is, doesn't even have to be about rocks or fossils or even rock hounding. But if you have a passion for something, go out there and do it. Don't let anything stop you from getting in the way, whether it's financially, whether it's a disability or something. Try to work around those avenues to get to where you want to be. I have a lot of things. I have a lot of boundaries and I have a lot of borders in the way from stopping me to where I want to go. But I always try to find a way to jump over those hurdles to be able to pursue something that I've always wanted to pursue since I was a kid. So if you have something that you love, go out there and do it. Learn as much as you can, make those connections, and be able to open the doors and to create whatever you want to do with your life.
That's amazing words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kurt, what do you got?
Well, I've said this plenty of times. I know Theo said it. Theo has said it. Theo has said it. But when you go out hounding, if you're rock hounding on the side of a freeway or interstate or and you're afraid people are gonna see you, don't be afraid. Just go out there and do it and have fun. Don't worry about anyone else because you're not gonna see them again. Or like they'll be 20 miles down the road before just go out, have fun, and do it. Don't worry about anyone or your surroundings as long as you're not trespassing. Don't trespass. Just have fun. Maybe wear one of those orange vests like Jared does when he's out on the side of the interstate, so that way you're seen.
Safety's first.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Kurt, for your words of wisdom. I should have been prepared, but I was not. But I think in light of what I'm dealing with right now, I would say that just don't be afraid. And that can be a broad spectrum of being applied to just about anything. Don't be afraid to voice your concerns, your opinions, just to be honest. Of course, don't be mean about it. Like, yeah. Honesty, don't be afraid. Yeah. Because, as of right now, like, the road is kind of uncertain where things are going to be at for me. So, sorry, I'm getting tripped on my own thought process here. Just don't be afraid, because if you be afraid, you're going to panic, and then that's when chaos starts ensuing. Just take it a day at a time. Things will be okay. That's pretty much my words of wisdom. Don't be afraid. Things will be okay. And that will end our words of wisdom. And that's what happens when I go in unprepared. But yeah. So, Cam, where can people find you on social media?
So, of course, I have a YouTube channel that's called Paleo 101. I don't post as much as I used to. I'm working towards getting a new camera so I can record, but I have a YouTube channel, Paleo 101. I have an Instagram. My Instagram is Cam Muskelly. That's CAMMUSKELLY, no spaces. And I'm also on Facebook. You can find me there. And I have a Twitter account called Paleo Cameron. So I use those various different avenues to get the word out about the rocks.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And also thank you for being on tonight's podcast. It was nice having you on.
Mm-hmm.
Need to have you on again
That'd be awesome.
when Karen and Theo could also be here, because I know they are also really into fossils and would geek out as much as you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for being on, and for everyone that's tuning in, don't worry, Karen will be back to help clean up and do all the shouts and everything else. We appreciate everyone that's been supporting the podcast for as long as you guys have been. And we'll see you guys here this next week. So until then, have a great weekend, and we'll see you then. Rock on.
So.
See you guys.